Did you realize just how misleading and untrustworthy the medical fraternity can get? Are you aware of some prime examples how they caused catastrophes with misinformation and worse? I'll ask you something else, not a hard one. Is it obvious to you that washing your hands after handling toilet brushes or decaying meat would be a pretty good idea? Right? The medical business is quite elite and severely prone to groupthink, and also mass manipulation by corporate profiteers. So you gotta take a pinch of salt with any narrative where all the experts agree. We'll give you one saucy example here so that you'll never be fooled again. Hope you're sitting down. Welcome back to Imagine That, where we decode and explain the most fascinating technical scenarios and give you the tools to empower yourself. Now let's get to just one hair-raising story of medical stupidity and institutional corruption, and it's the tip of the historical iceberg. We present the Semmelweis Saga. Picture this, 19th century Vienna, a time when doctors proudly wore their filth-covered coats as badges of honour. Ignaz Semmelweis, a Hungarian physician, had the audacity to suggest that maybe, just maybe, washing hands before delivering babies could reduce a mother's mortality rates. You see, he had correctly observed that the super high mortality rates for women delivering babies coincided with the hospitals where autopsies were being carried out in adjoining rooms and buildings. In some cases, a doctor would wrap up in the autopsy room and wander straight over to help deliver a baby, without changing clothes or even splashing some water on their hands. Oops. Well, Semmelweis had a eureka moment whilst thinking about this. What if there was some contamination coming from the dead and decaying bodies, and this contamination would then be transferred to the vulnerable woman by, of course, the experts who did the autopsies, and then wandered across to deliver babies? Semmelweis, of course, didn't yet know exactly what the contamination might be, but its apparent existence was screaming at him from the data. And so he went and collected and analysed this data, just like an engineer would. What a smarty pants he really was. Here's some of his early data. First, his observation that hospitals and doctors engaged in autopsy work before delivering babies had way higher deaths post-delivery, and far, far higher than when midwives were doing the delivering. Most importantly, just like an engineer would, he ran an experiment to validate his hypothesis. Who'd have thought, eh? It's a pity that the experts often seem to miss this rather crucial step in the problem-solving process, actually verifying theories with a well-designed experiment. But wow, did Semmelweis validate his hypothesis? Kinda case closed in a sense, right? You'd have to be an elite medical practitioner to miss the signal here. But what did they do to him, these medical maestros, after he had just proved his point so eloquently, and so scientifically, and so convincingly? Well, they fired him. Yep, they fired his engineering ass, because he was embarrassing them. All of these fancy-pants surgeons could never be inadvertently killing those nice women through their own professional ignorance. Nope, not possible. Fire this guy and let's seal the deal by pushing him into an insane asylum. That'll teach him. So yeah, that's where they drove him, and rejected by his profession, he sadly died there, after multiple beatings indeed. He had correctly achieved a case closed with his logic and science, but it led to the experts closing his case. Think of the absurdity, the medical elite scoffing at his correct analyses, preferring to cling to their groupthink, dearly held dogmas, things like miasma, the belief that diseases were spread by bad air rather than filthy hands. Poor Semmelweis was too correct, too soon, and too much all by himself. They hate an outsider, an individual, discovering that their practices are nonsense. and they will do anything to hide the exposure of their nonsense. That's how it works, folks. Have we seen similar behaviour by the experts, particularly over the past few years? Well, wow, we have. But we gotta be careful talking about that on most platforms. Anyway, his astonishing observations and quite frankly common sense deduction was met with a cacophony of abuse and vilification from the top experts of the day. It wasn't until after his death that the world finally caught up, realising that maybe, just maybe, cleanliness isn't such a crazy concept after all. And thus the tragic comic tale of Semmelweis serves as a reminder. Sometimes being ahead of your time, sticking to real engineering-style scientific methods, and getting a correct finding that makes the experts look bad means enduring a lot of abuse, public vilification, and even being called a denier. Heard that one a lot in recent years, perhaps? Well, that's it for this short one, folks. Really hope you enjoyed and can benefit by being very careful with the majority of experts say. We're working hard to develop this channel and would be delighted if you could give us a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button, and also the little notification bell. Please do share if you can so that more can benefit. We'll be covering so many jewels of lesser known reality in the coming months. Till next time, guys, always stand up for truth and reality, while watching your back, of course.